Hey everyone, how you doing today? Thought I would kind of show you what I've been looking at and working on a little bit. The space station has sucked up most of my time though, for sure. Still, I did a patch to it today. I guess I'll start with that. So there was a few issues that were left over. I don't know of any others right now, but when I first released it, I realized that I lost oxygen in this main area, which really sucks. Especially because the farms are in here and everything else. You gotta have oxygen here. Um, it turned out it had to do with this particular bay over here, Reserve Bay 10. What had happened is going through this, I wanted to make sure that everything worked right the way it should with placing solar panels, which requires you to modify some blocks. And I also was trying to make sure that when you filled up these bays with cargo extensions and then a controller at the C, that they would come out to exactly 320K. And due to changes I made with solar panels solar panel placement locations and whatnot, when I went through here, I found that 4 of the bays were coming out short by 1 or 2 cargo extensions. So I had to modify a lot of these bays to get them to work right with the solar panels too. And the way I set up these solar panels, here, let me get the HUD back on, is I originally, when I just filled them, the solar panels were in place, but I couldn't keep that with Reforged Eden. So what I had to do is make some changes on many of these. I guess the top one's not a good example, but the inner ones, I had to fill these in with this red block area because those areas used to be cargo extensions and they could have been. I don't know. It's complicated. But basically, I was just checking to make sure everything worked, and it didn't work. So then I did a bunch of modifications, thought everything was cool, and put it out to the workshop. And lo and behold, it didn't have oxygen in like most of the base, which really sucked. But anyway, it's fixed. The patch I did today had to do with removing I had a couple carbon substrate blocks sitting in front of the elevators. And I had one elevator door over here that I also removed. There's no sense on having a door because it's the same O2 zone going up to the second floor. So why have a annoying door in your way all the time when you're trying to go up and down, since it's not doing anything to seal off O2 or anything or any form of protection. So those are fixed. I also removed 5 LCDs on one of these arms that I had left over. So I didn't update the stat screens, but ultimately it would be slightly cheaper, slightly cheaper than what it says. Very slightly. I don't even know how noticeable like 5 LCDs and 2 carbon substrate blocks would be, but it would be slightly cheaper. um, all right. Well, anyway, so that is updated at that point. Now, I did get some word, and there is a way. I was kind of frazzled with getting LCDs at these angles, and another author kind of showed me that it can work if you place the LCDs at a specific direction. So I may take a look at that and try to get multiple like LCD displays to guide you in the paths better, like what was done on the Helios. But some other projects. Now, my next main project I actually wanted to do is I wanted to revisit well, 2 things. I wanted to revisit MCRN, and I wanted to make a combat CV. So that is kind of my next main project, but the smaller stuff are kind of like side projects, I guess you could say. Now I have not started on that MCRN combat CV. It's basically I'm going to try to follow some of the guidelines from the Expanse TV show and build my own ship. Not being like any ship from the show again, but I'm going to try to use some of their design cues and build a tough combat ship, but not super big. And I want it quite agile, defended, but I think it'll be strictly combat and not have much in regards of like it won't have a farm and won't have. I'm not sure about docking and landing. I kind of wanted whatever ship to be able to move a miner around with it, because I think that would be very useful in gameplay when you're out with a combat ship, that you could blow stuff up and get out with a miner slash salvager, like the Pluto's M1 or something like that. And then I thought about having the back of it being able to actually physically dock into a Helios dropship bay. But if I did do that, then it would probably need a hangar, and then I'm going to have a bigger ship, and I wanted to keep it kind of small. But anyway, oh shoot, my light's going out. Sorry about that. Anyway, some stuff that I made in the past and never did release or do anything with is I built these two structures here. They're both starter structures. I've got the Frontier ST, or it's a starter base, and then I've got the Frontier Point Defense Turret, which is, well, a starter turret. Now, both of these I took a look at. I'm in vanilla right now, and a discrepancy I had between Reforged Eden and vanilla is the CPU used right off the gates. For instance, in vanilla, storage is a lot more expensive than it is in Reforged Eden. So in Reforged Eden, spawning this particular basin needed no CPU cores at all. In vanilla, it does need a basic CPU core, and I've got that balanced out now. So on this base, if I were to release it, it would need to come with a basic CPU core if it was going to be compatible with both vanilla and Reforged Eden, and comes out under 200,000 with its two turrets. Now, two turrets is kind of weak for a base, and this base is really meant to have a couple of these around it. These Frontier PDTs, Point Defense Turrets. I was just taking a look at how these things played out in vanilla. Now, no CPU issues whatsoever in vanilla with these things. So they're tier 1 or whatnot. And these have a 10-minute build time. They're built out of stone, or concrete, I should say, and very, very light on resources except for stone. 10-minute and about 30-second build time. So I might release the two of these here pretty soon to the workshop. I think in this state, they work both with vanilla and Reforged Eden. They're cheap. I think they would be decent for a starter setup. Now, I could have built a bigger base with more installed turrets, but yeah, I wanted you to get up and running good. But I would have to release both of these at the same time, I think, because you really want to have a couple of these deployed around your base. I don't think two turrets might be able to stop a drone or two, but if they actually do a base attack on you, this is a weak base because of the solar, especially being used as a ceiling, and it was just trying to save cost and size by doing that. Anyway, inside the base, basically it's got 14K ammo, it's fridge, food processor, O2, clone chamber, which is kind of needed when you're trying to keep the level size down. Two small constructors, two large constructors, two 320K storage bays, and some extra cargo boxes up on the roof. So it's kind of like a early game kind of production. Oh, I'm sorry, 4 of these small constructors. Got quite a few constructors. It even has a shower in here, so I figured that would be helpful with I don't know, radiation and that kind of thing. But anyway, so I plan on releasing this one here in a few days, probably at the same time as I release this one. So they'll both get to the workshop. On the MX4, I brought this into vanilla too to see how it would work out, and right now I stripped all its turrets off from it because it shows in red in vanilla if I keep the turrets on that were, since I built this in Reforged Eden. There's a discrepancy between like your standard like minigun turret where it shows in red in vanilla. So maybe I just place them in vanilla and maybe they'll be fine in Reforged Eden. I don't know exactly. I'll have to do a little test on that. But what this one's lacking right now is the inside. and that is something I kind of wanted to get done. I wanted to get this one finished and released at some point here too. Now Excalibur, he's with the monthly challenges plus the prefab project. There's just a lot of things. A lot of things. It sounds like I'm missing this month's, which was to build a HV, and then there's like an SV thing to do, and then I heard something about a starter base and a starter CV, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot. I don't know what I want to tackle yet, but maybe if I use some of these things, I could enter a couple of these unreleased creations for a couple of those categories at least. Then I was taking a look back at this POIs I started a long time ago and have not finished yet. Unnamed Kriel POI. I really liked it. I like the structure. I like the uniqueness of being the L-shaped pattern and just different from the norm. So I kind of wanted to actually get this thing completed as well. I think it'd make kind of a fun POI if it's done right and things like that on the inside. But it has a lot of inside areas to work out yet. And at the time when I was building this, it was the 6th POI kind of in a row, and I got really burned out when I was by the time I got to this one. I'm like, oh man, I just wanted to like get it done and out the door, and that's not the right way to go. So like even like some of the work I did in the hallway here, yeah, it can be done better. So yeah, that's another one. But the project I would be most thrilled about building actually is a MCRN CV attack ship. You know, designed for late game stuff. You know, it's like I built a trebuchet in the past, and that was kind of my first attempt at, you know, figuring things out. And then since then I built a couple more combat CVs, but they're both Kriel. Doing some wild things like the Kriel Interfector and the Kriel Bahamut. Yeah, I'm not sure though. You see, my big stopping point now is like the difference in weapon counts I'm getting between Vanilla and Reforged Eden, and maybe that's just a server we're playing on. But I would like to make a new one. I don't know if I should orient it towards being the max weapon count limit in Vanilla, which kind of sucks. But you know, you can upgrade the weapons and stuff and not have as many. And if you start upgrading the turrets, you do a lot of damage. So I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. I have a general idea on how I want the hull to be designed and look like. And again, I'm going to try to take a lot of design cues from the Expanse ships in general. Not like any specific ship, but in general. Put on my own flair and try to make them work in Empyrion. But whatever it is, it needs to be quick and maneuverable. It needs to have good firepower, good defense, and not try to like be too many things. I think so. That's another project. One last thing too. I haven't touched it yet, and maybe I will revisit this some more. I don't know if I was totally sold on what I had here, and I started, which was going to be intended to be either a Merc MX6 or 7, and that is this thing. But this is so, I mean, I haven't done anything with it since I've been wrapped up in that space station, and I kind of like, well, at the end of the day, on SVs, I'm still like, you know, on function-wise, not 100% sure on exactly what SVs should be doing at this point in time. I tried some experiments with some SCAR models and things like that on trying to make like a combat SV. This one, it wouldn't be like a big high-end combat SV. It would be a step up from an MX5, I'm thinking. But what do you do to step it up from an MX5? You know, I obviously have the same I don't know, capabilities as the MX-5. Maybe it just comes complete with those capabilities. Maybe a little bit quicker. It does have, I think, bigger thrust in it, and it is hardened steel. So the MX-5, I believe, was just steel as well. So I don't know. I'll have to take a look at this one as well. It could look nice, but I was just noticing little things too, like some of the design issues that I have right now. Like I put in these curves here, and I've got this particular edge which goes at this angle here, but I don't like this seam here. So I was just looking at that right before the video, and I'm like, why didn't I do something different here? And how would that look if I tried? So I'm just gonna try this a minute and pop in some curvy blocks here instead that will make that transition. I think I took out one block more than I needed to. And look at that, now I'm nice and smooth. And that's the kind of thing I like to do too, is just when you're dealing with a ship that flies in the atmosphere, you know, one of the big things to me that I always try to do is make them appear aerodynamic. And if they don't look like they could fly in the atmosphere, then I think they lose plausibility, which I think makes them look worse. In my head, at least, that's kind of how I look at things. It's like, how plausible would that be? You know, would it really work? And I think like little things like that, like, okay, now this is smoother, but now I've got this gap over here. Just little stuff like that is kind of what I've been looking at. But anyway, I just wanted to basically give you an update on where I am and projects going forward right now. There's another biggie too, before I end the video, that I don't know what I want to do with, and there's been some comments that brought it up saying, hey, you're supposed to build a Kriel space station, and I started it quite a while ago, but I was doing it for a high-speed video, and I was probably going faster than I normally would trying to build something. God, do I even have it here? What did I even call it? No! Maybe I just called it something simple like Kriel Space Station. Wouldn't that have been nice? Kriel Space Station. Yeah, this is it. SS. Space Station. So, there is this thing. I worry sick about this design, though. I do. Knowing how long even this station took, I'm thinking this thing would take forever and a day, and I'm not so sure that many people would be able to use it, and I don't like some of the design characteristics of it as it sits. But I would say this is bigger than the other space stations, possibly even bigger than the Sentinel station, which had the most amount of interior space so far. But this thing's got a lot of room in it, and there's a lot of stuff going on. Where I imagine this would be a pretty high size class, considering, well, it's 6 right now with like nothing going on and not even completely finished. But there's parts of it I like and parts of it I don't like on this one. So, you know, things can be fixed and changed. What I'm not liking is the thickness of this this area that comes down. I wanted that to be skinnier, which would also be a good thing for saving on some blocks. I don't know. I'll just keep this out there as a thing. And I also wanted to make the offer. If anybody wanted to take this and run with it, I'd be all for that, because I don't know when or if I would ever get back to doing this particular one. And it's basically, it's got a lot of the hull blocks and hull design done, but there's, you know, obviously some issues with different stuff. I was having a lot of fun with shaping on this one, especially on this back area here, doing these different things that would just keep on getting a little bit bigger and go off to the side. That was a lot of fun. I had a little fun with the block work on the solar panels here, with the solar panel housings. But a side effect to all this funness with block work is it's costly. It's costly and doesn't really do anything. Like this huge housing to hold those solar panels is straight up expensive. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But I will put it out there. I could put this up on something for someone to get it. I think I can actually do it with a Google Drive. If anybody wants this to mess with it and see if you would complete it, that would be great. It's a enormous project though to finish this. I mean, even the texturing the hull alone would take a very long time, and it really should be Kriel, and that might be a turnoff for a lot of people too. So I mean, Kriel's fun, but it takes a little bit to learn the texturing on it. And it takes a while to tweak it out. It needs like certain kinds of lights and other things, and certain like texture palette and the color schemes of the fading stuff and whatnot to make it all dial in and kind of work to fit with the rest of the Kriel stuff. But yeah, stuff like this is a lot of fun to do, and that is, but again, would be very expensive. It'd be expensive, high size class kind of thing, and even with this one here, I've had some people ask, hey, can you make a lower size class version of it or a smaller one? And it's like, well, not easily, not really without starting over. And that's kind of the thing, My best suggestion at lowering the size class, this comes stock at size class 13. Um, the quickest way to take a lot of size class off is literally to cut this whole lower tower off from here and then take the parts that were in here, such as the generators and CPU blocks and possibly even shield, solar capacitors, all that stuff, and move them to maybe one of these locations here. Find new housing room for them. That would chop off quite a bit of size class, I think. I'm just curious. Let's do that a second. So let's do a selection. We'll just start over here. Drag out a big box. Yeah, I know with the like the vanilla server and stuff like that, there's the size class limits are quite a bit lower. So I don't think you can go past. I don't quote me on this, but I think it's size class 7, maybe 6. I don't know on what the maximum allowed is, but being 13 going to that size class is, well, pretty rough to say the least. I guess I don't need to be accurate with this. I'm just deleting it. Alright, well, I'm going to tell it to cut instead of delete anyway, just for the fun of it. So, bam. So, you're out of there. Oh, except for that little bottom block thing. Okay. And let me get rid of that. And what does that do for the size class? Obviously, it won't turn on right now because it's missing all the blocks and everything. Ah, no core present. One sec here. Do I have one of those around? Okay, we got a core. So, chopping that off, lost about 3 size class points. So, as you can see, even with all that gone, it's way oversized class. Now in vanilla too, storage is expensive, and that is a problem I'm having between. Another difference between vanilla and Reforged Eden is the different prices of storage. Of course, I like the Reforged Eden one better because they're cheaper, and the cheaper in my book is the better. But for instance, okay, so let's take a look at CPU real quick. Well, actually, this is about size class, not CPU. It's kind of like a different can of worms. But, to reduce the size class of this further, I wonder if I can mass delete rails. That'd be quicker. Let me try something. I've never tried this one before. There's this one part here. I'm going to turn on debug information. And okay, we're railing, whatever, glass module. Let's try to remember that. And I'm going to go into the console, replace blocks. Oh, and we are 1071. And the block I want to replace is the railing. So let me look at the railing when I do this. It's a big name on that. I'll try it. Okay, so railing, not railing, diagonal. That's a word I don't spell often. Diag. Wow. Can I screw this? My eyes are freaking out trying to read the lettering up in the corner. I need new glasses. Or glass module. Okay, with. Let's see if I type that right. So railing diagonal glass modular. So I'm replacing that block with empty, which means no block. Okay, so that removed. Oh, that just did the angled ones. Oh, now we got to do the other one. Okay, so this should be easy enough. Okay, so I hit the up arrow to replace the, or to have it retype. So now we just need vert instead of, let's see, VERT, glass modular. Okay, so I'm just seeing how, okay, so that got rid of about 150 railing blocks on this thing. What does that do for the size class? Still 10. Yeah. See, this kind of sucks though, and then it's going to go back up in size class when you start adding in the all the parts that are missing now that are required to make this thing work. So that's where it gets rough on size class and things like that. So basically, you know, to make it, to like shrink this down somehow easily and make it into size class 7, you know, space station with the docking supports and stuff, I don't think it's possible. Not without like starting over and coming up with a different design. And here's another big aspect on that. It is the minimum size needed around kind of like its octagon shape to have modules dock at these 45-degree angles. I cannot make those smaller, and I can't make this smaller. I can't basically alter any of that stuff if they're going to work. I guess the other biggest thing would be like chopping off the whole top of the base too, which then it'd just be it wouldn't be, it's just not the same thing anymore. It's just not, you know, I guess, yeah. Anyway, I'll shut up about that. I thought about it, and I'm like, what could I do on something like this to make it cheaper, size class wise? And it's like, I just keep on hitting a blank, you know. Short of removing that lower tower, which isn't not near enough needed, removing little vanity things like the railings. You could remove some lights that might drop it down, maybe possibly even another size class notch, but it would really suck. You can't really chop the top of it off. These things take up size class as well, but they are absolutely required for you to properly dock. Without that ceiling up there, it's a disaster. Basically when you pull up to these things and you press up, it levels you off and lines that door up where it should be. And if you don't have this, which on the top of that, it doesn't work. You'll flip up, the back end of your vehicle will like flip up, and it just doesn't work. So it has to have that. So yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm stuck. I can't really make it smaller. You know, I can make other stations that could dock modules for sure, but they probably wouldn't try to do it at an angle like this one either, because that's a little more costly, I suppose. But for the shape that this was, it made a lot of sense, because without that, I could only get like 4 possible modules, and that's not having any hangar doors. This way I could get 8 which I actually used 6 of them, and then I still had like a big pass-through hangar door, and yeah. Anyway, that's all I pretty much had for today. I was thinking about some more like building tutorial videos too, so I'll try to think about that a little bit. Probably won't have a video tomorrow, but maybe Thursday, and then oh wait, tomorrow is Thursday. Maybe I'll have a video tomorrow, and then I will do another take a look at the workshop on Friday. So anyway, you all have yourself a good day. I'll talk to you later.